Say when.
A minute early?
Sure.
All right, let's go. Clicking live.
Paul says to say sorry now. Howdy you all. Tony, Blue Way Dave, Anita, Tom C, Tom J, Vikalp, Keith, Magnus, Anita, Doug, Pickney, Emily, Delvin, Mr. Steve Took. I need a shave. I didn't shave this morning. What is going on? Who is this guy? Had a really busy morning. And I just got off a Skype call with Mr. Scott Chandler, who's here. Yeah, on time. We did it. We did it, Scott. Alex, Rocco, Todd, Mark, Paul, Keith, Daniel, Charos, Mark Becker. I wonder if you could detail on noisy recordings, or I'm not going to use it as a main. I'm not sure what you mean. If you could detail on noisy recordings. Toby, Jörg, how are you? Chris Edmondson, Tim H, Tim MH. There you go. How are you? Well, here we are. We're big, we're bad, and we're back. We had a wonderful Feedback Friday last week. One of my favorite ones. The chat was amazing. The mixes were insanely good. So we have a lot to live up to. Hey, Emily. So I'm very excited to get stuck in. Hope you're all doing marvelously well. Hey, Sheila. I recorded, but it's noisy and it's not noticed in the mix. Well, if it's not noticeable in the mix, it's okay. I mean, it's a bit like guitar sounds, isn't it? You're playing a chord, and between it's like. I suppose the reality is, like, if it's noisy in the track, but it disappears, then it disappears, you know. It's kind of a catch-22. You could try using some denoise stuff, but frankly what usually happens is you use the denoise stuff and it can end up taking off some of the high end. But if it's not noticeable, it's not noticeable. All right, let's get stuck in. First up is Roman, and Roman says, hello everybody, here's my mix of Chase Is Gone from the 3rd season. Plugins with Slate Digital Bundle on Everything Bundle and Brainworks. The vocals are Opto Compressor, Brainworks, Acme Opticon XLA3. LA3. Reverb was the Eventide T-Verb. I like that one. And the monitors are HS8s. Try to follow Warren's instructions for breakdown video and to be as close to the sound as possible because I really liked it. Well, that's wonderful. Let's check it out. First up is Roman.
Put some good shoes on and throw away your watch. All that time you lost trying to wind it back. Summer fades to fall and winter's calling long, but I promise you spring will come I'll meet you later on, but for now I'm gone.
Bravo, Roman. That was really fantastic. Wow. Did you just say it was your first mix? Did you say it was his first mix? I'm sorry, Roman, if you didn't. But wow, that's really good. So absolutely wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so low lows on the kick, and this is definitely a theme. Yesterday I had the Leapwing audio guys here, Emiliano and Robin, and Robin is quite a well-known Latin producer, one of the guys that owns the company. He actually is nominated for 4 Latin Grammys this year. Really, really great guy, and he also teaches. And he said the #1 thing with his students is the low end. The bass is really good. I love the bass tone here, and I'm happy with the clickiness of the kick. It's a little tiny bit clickier for me than necessarily I would have gone for a Chase, because I don't think he's that aggressive sounding on the kick, but it doesn't bother me. It's just different. It's different to what I would do, but it's pretty close. The difference is like the low lows. I want to hear the and I'm not talking about super loud, like metal, old school, like metal. I just want a little bit of That's typically around about 40 to 60 hertz. I say 40 to 60 hertz because you might push 60 on your kick drum mix, but you don't want too much 80 to 100 because that's going to kill your low end on your bass. So sometimes I dip that a little bit, a bit of 80 and 100 there, maybe as much as 110. But it is nice to have that welcome as you pull it up, extra 40 in there. It doesn't mean that 40 should be pumping, but just that 40 hertz that comes up gives you the ooh underneath, that little oof, which, when you hear quote-unquote professional mixes, that's what you hear. So a little bit of that super lows by just boosting a bit more 60, and if you have to, introduce a little bit of a sub frequency in there. You can trigger a sub, you can find like an NS10 kick sample and put it in there and turn that up lightly. I cheat because I have a DBX 120, and the 120 gives us a little bit of sub. If you've watched any of my video breakdowns, you'll see that I bring it up on a console there. But you can also do it in the box. That's the first thing I think would make it sound, quote-unquote professional. I hate that word, but I'm going to use it just to make it sound just a little bit like, wow, what is that? That's the first thing I really noticed. The other thing is, for me, the overheads is they're a little bit bright and boosted on the highs, a little bit too much for me. They sound a little thinner. I would just relax EQ on the overheads, whatever you're doing. It's great to have the shimmer, but not too much. Just a little bit. And then the only other thing I can say is, I think I want, personally, in your mix, I want the snare to be a bit fatter and a bit tubbier. Have a listen. Life is like a map. You will find your... I digress. I do think the click on the kick can come down a little bit. That clickiness on the kick can come down a little bit. If you've got a good balance on it, you could also put a de-esser on the kick and just kind of like duck some of those excessive click, tick, tick, tick.
Life is like a map. You will find your path, but sometimes you'll get lost.
So don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the snare. I think the snare's good. It's a little bottom snare heavy. I just think I need a little bit more body in the snare. A little bit more body in the snare, a bit more oof, and a little less piff, piff, piff. Just a bit more body, little less click on that kick. Overhead's not quite so EQ'd sounding, so a little less kind of like high mid boost. You'll probably find once the clickiness comes down on the kick and a little bit more body comes on the snare, that suddenly the overheads will feel even more out of place. So just relax the EQ all round, you know, less high pass, less low mid cut, less high boost. Now it might be that you're not doing that, but with the high boost, that's the effect it feels. Because think about it, if you've got 20 to 20K like this as even, if I take my high end and boost it, it's the same as turning down all of this area here. This whole, you know what I mean? Or you can either turn down all the low mids and the low end like this, therefore leaving the high end super bright, or you can turn, you know, you're basically achieving just a volume increase. See what I mean? High mids, high end, boosted, cut, low mids and low end. You're effectively just turning it up if you just take the high mids and high end and boost them considerably. Anyway, super close. And a fantastic mix. Great work, Roman. All right, next up is Scott Peets. And it's Christina Holmes. Everybody knows. As you know, we're a huge fan of Christina, not only as an artist, as a person. One of our favorite artists to work with. She's absolutely amazing. I'm going to introduce a master fader here. And I am going to grab probably Paz, just Paz meters. Yep. Just going to make sure we're playing back at the same level because this one's a little hot. I've already brought it down by a dB and a half. You know what I'm going to do? Doing this without it annoying you guys. Okay. See, because it's hitting like -3, so I'm going to bring it down about -2. Okay. And then we'll put this back on here. Just going to try and get it so that there's not like massive disparity between one mix and another, because this one looks pretty hot. Good. -2.7. Okay, here we go. Scott Peets.
Whoa.
Absolutely amazing, Scott. I have some comments, but I want to read your notes. Christina Holmes, the lyrics and mesmerizing rhythm of the song reminded me of many Native American powwows, so I've attended. Fantastic. And also good friends who grew up with an Indian reservation close to my hometown. Wonderful. You know what? Christina will love to hear that. That means a lot to her. I added a taster which gives an interesting mix of Native American with reggae style bass at the end. I'm glad that you picked up on that. It's great to hear the lows of the reggae stuff coming in there. That was really nice. There's a KK sample underneath to give the djembe some beef. Yeah, it definitely, the djembe suddenly become like a kick drum, so it was definitely very different. Mix the comped backgrounds with the original tracks that had some additional pitch change added to them for thickness and made stereo pairs of each section for easier manageability in the mix. I rebalanced the separate BV tracks by adding pitch change to already mixed subgroups. The variation in balance added a little more energy to the pairs. I mixed in a mono subtle third to the lead vocal as well as a stereo harmony during the verses on Antares Evo, which frustratingly seems to crash my Pro Tools sessions often. I'm trying to think if I've had that happen. I don't use it that much, but maybe it's happened. I used some slate tone emulation, built some percussion tracks in GarageBand, thanks for including the BPM. That varied from verse to chorus to change up the feel with some reverse cymbals, nice drums, and an explosion. Those stole from another Warren's Productions. Oh yes, the DP explosion. That's the band was Dance Party, hence DP. The claps and the stomp samples give you the protest anthem feel in the chorus. The electric guitar in the verses, almost a percussive instrument itself. I tried to create some movement and drama, which Warren spoke about on my last Feedback Friday review, which totally made sense. Well, wonderful. I'm really, really impressed. This is one of my favorite, remixes. I definitely feel like, you did a mix/remix on this. Really, really wonderful. Very inspiring. I think, for me, I want to go back to the top because it definitely starts off super hot on the kick sound here. So listening again from the top. I really enjoy it. I do, but I'm wondering if that go at the top could be distant. You're talking about great references that I know Christina is going to really, really love because this stuff is really important to her. Very, very important to her. Native American culture and everything is like a big deal for her, and I know that she's been involved in a lot of stuff to help Native Americans. So the fact that you're bringing up as references, I think, is really beautiful, and it shows an understanding of where she comes from. Now, so maybe that ooh could be distant, because when this comes in, that super low arrives, the ooh. Once that comes in, it's not quite as dramatic as if this necessarily, well, we can just for schnitz and schniggles, I can show you what I'm thinking. I could just go to most generic reverb ever created. I think it's unfortunate because it's across the whole track, but I think like maybe you're coming up to a gathering and you're seeing it. So I think that would be even more interesting, because the only problem problem is a strong word, but the only reality with that being as loud at the front for me is it just lessens the impact going later on. Now, don't get me wrong. When you came in and brought the bass in here, I mean, that's stupendous. That's really, really good. So it's definitely, it's a really, really good mix. I just feel like, I mean, and everything you've done here, like the way you've got the guitars, parts and everything is fantastic. I sort of want to make it even more so. So maybe that's distant. Whoa, 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 whoa. It could also get closer and closer and closer and then just suck you into the song. That's it. That's my only comment. I think the creativity is fantastic. The balances are fantastic. The bass tone was wonderful. It really did what I wanted it to do when it came in. Just great. Really, really good. Scott, fantastic work, super creative. As we always say, it's not mixed like a pro, it's produced like a pro. And we really try to encourage like production, remixing, and most importantly, creativity. And Scott, you hit it out of the park. Okay. Next up is Magnus. Magnus says, hello all you gorgeous people. Tried to make something fitting, a sunset party with people dancing on the beach. Warmth, bliss and bodies moving to the beat while the shadow starts to stretch towards the horizon. Wonderful. It rests between a mix and a remix, adding a few elements and working hard at getting every single ounce of danceability out of the existing tracks. Decided I was done when the project started crashing every time I loaded Waves Arvox. There are about 15 on this. Wow, that's a lot of Arvox. So solved the crash issue with some gentle reinstallation of Waves and made a couple of small adjustments. Feedback is always highly appreciated. Wonderful. Here we go with Magnus's version of Everybody Knows.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa.
God bless it. That's pretty fantastic. Sorry, I just had to move that chair up. The chair was like set on the ground. We had three of us here yesterday, Robin, Emiliano from Leapwing and me all sitting in a row. And geez, it was, I think all the chairs were all set for different heights for different people. And I don't know whose chair I got, but I was like, hi, everybody. All right, so Magnus. Wow, with a capital W. Pretty fantastic mix. You also nailed this transition.
Everybody knows, 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 everybody, 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 everybody knows, everybody knows, everybody knows, everybody knows.
That was for Chris because he wanted to hear it again. Yeah, the panning from left to right there was absolutely fantastic. Really nice stuff. So wow, super creative. I will say, here's the difference between like Scott's and Magnus's approach. Like if you go here on Magnus's. You definitely hear that sort of very distinct low end of the djembe, where Scott's, he did that and then he let the low end coming here. But it feels more like a kick drum. But the reason why I point out the differences is they both work. I think Magnus has gone for a more, he's definitely got really, just like Scott, got super creative with panning and transitions and everything. So they've both done wonderful work. But it's interesting and very important to notice, I think, that they both work. They're both absolutely fantastic mixes. Magnus has gone a little bit more organic in general, but Scott's by using just the djembe itself and not adding extra sounds to it. But Scott's doesn't really sound, you know, it doesn't sound digital. It still sounds organic. It's interesting. It's like, because this is a conversation we get all the time about people saying using samples or this, that, and the other. And it's like, you know, what's the overall effect that it creates? Don't just focus in on one sound and go, well, that's, you know, the effect of Scott's, for instance, still feels like what he was going for, like, you know, something super tribal, Native American. And Magnus has achieved the same thing. They've both done that, which is really where this came from. That was Christina's thought process. So it's great that you are both getting that and bringing it to the fore. Huge fan of what Magnus does, a huge fan of what Scott does. I would say the transition going into the bass here, I want to listen one more time.
Everybody knows, everybody knows, everybody knows, everybody knows, everybody knows, everybody, 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 everybody knows.
The bass is a bit quiet for me there, and it's not necessarily like the low lows. I think actually the low lows of the bass and the djembe are sort of blending together, so you could maybe tighten up the high pass a little bit on the bass, but the bass itself has to come up just a little bit, but not with the low lows coming up as much. Just because I like that. What is it? Everybody knows, everybody knows, everybody knows, everybody knows, everybody knows. So you understand what I mean by it's quiet. It's not that it doesn't it fill up the low end. It does. It fills up the low end. That's great. But I want to hear the bound. I want to hear that melodic aspect that it's adding as well as just the low end. So a little bit more of that. And that could be, you know, the 750, 850, 115. It could be a little 3K just for a little. It's tough. I don't know if I want to hear too much, but I definitely want to hear just a little bit more mid-range with the low end as well. Just a shade more, just for definition. Wonderful work. Like, really, really great work. I mean, these two guys have done an amazing job on it. And, you know, honestly, my mix was very, very stock, standard and safe. I didn't take these kind of risks. I did everything in the production that I wanted to do. And when it came to the mix, I just leveled it out, made it sound even and printed it. So this is interesting. This is also a case for sometimes why you give other mixers your work. You know, why you would go to somebody like Scott or Magnus and go, would you remix my song? Because you would give a new interpretation. I mean, I think my mix is great. Don't get me wrong. I like it. It's on the record. God bless it. But this is a nice illustration of why sometimes engineers and producers, we do willingly give our work to somebody else to give another perspective. And I think this is a great illustration of two guys bringing another perspective to it. That's really fantastic. All right. Great work. Next up is Paul Motion. And Paul says, started out mixing this one as I try it for the Abbey Road Studio 3 plugin. My thoughts are a little bit more in a little bit more detail here if you're interested. Short version, I like the plugin. It has its limitations, but useful tool for understanding your bottom end and having a different listening environment that's not your car. Exactly. That is exactly why the friends of mine that are professional mixers have been using it. Dave Way is using it for that exact reason, to get another environment to check your mixes. Challenging myself to be limited as possible with plugins or individual tracks, preferring to use groups and other processes at that level, then adding individual track plugins as I needed to solve the problems. There's a lot of tracks in this song, so it seemed like a sensible approach. Kick group, DBX 160 comp, waves, PEQ 1A, waves low air. For the Queen break, to get the sound I wanted, I duplicated the stomp kicks and put the API 550 EQ on each of them. 40 dB boost at 5K. Toms, Shep's omni-channel, a few bits and pieces, hats and overheads, bass, low pass using an REQ 4, DBX 160, R bass and MV2, clapped Echo Boy Jr. for some weirdness, acoustic guitar, Shep's omni-channel, crystallizer with Avid Space Verb, electric guitar group, Shep's omni-channel with Black Spring Verb on the slide guitar. Synths are a bit of an exception to the rule with REQ4. Echo Boy, Valhalla Vintage Verbs, Lo-Fi, C1 Chris Vibrato, Spring Reverb, Aphex Aural Exciter. Sort of imagined the song with a rebel cry, so I ended up going for a sort of megaphone sound of a lead vocal, then changed it up to the Queen breakdown as they gather top of the blockade. Vocal effects, a little primal tap. Valhalla Vintage Verb, that's been coming out with the H3000 pitch shift. That's going to be interesting to listen to. I'm a huge Valhalla fan, by the way. We need to talk more about them. BV's epic, so many tracks. Half the fun was doing Duplicate the World, second verse one. All right, I'm going to get into listening. Let's hear what you have done. Young and Restless. It's been a while since I've heard this one. I'm just going to bring it down a little bit here. Try and even it out. Watch our PAS meters. Make sure we're getting something even. And off you go. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
The thing about love and the thing about peace, the thing about hope and the thing about me is we keep on keeping on when life gets hard. You gotta have strength and you gotta have pride, man. You gotta keep faith from the telling you lies. You gotta keep on keeping on when life gets hard.
We are the young and restless. Together no one can stand against us. We are the young and restless. We are one. We are the young and restless. Together no one can stand against us. We are the young and restless. We are one. We are the young and restless. Together no one can stand against us. We are the young and restless. We are one. We are the young and restless. Together no one can stand against us. We are the young and restless. We are one.
Pretty amazing. Really, really good stuff, Paul. Totally enjoyed it. I think it's interesting. I really enjoy the vocal idea in the verses. I'm just going to go back to the chorus here.
We are one. We are the young and restless. Together no one can stand against us. We are the young and restless. We are one. We are the young and restless. Together no one can stand against us. We are the young and restless.
I mean, I like there's a focus on that kind of key there. That's interesting. It makes the choruses a little bit more interesting. I feel like with your mix, I do like that verse vocal sound. I mean, it took me a second to get used to it, you know. And by the second verse,
Keeping on when life gets hard.
there's a sort of element of detune there. If you have a listen.
Keeping on when life gets hard. You wanna find truth and you wanna be free.
But it's kind of fun. I think I want this to sound ever so, and I think you're on the right track. I think I wanted this to sound a little bit more like chopped up, a little bit more synthetic at times, like those sha-na-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na-na, jam-dam-dam. That could almost, in your mix, this is just in your mix, I feel like it could be like ah-na-na-na-na, ah-na-na-na-na, slam-bam-bam. You know, you could get in there, you could take maybe one of the parts and sidechain it to a gate to the other part. So it's like da-da-da-da-da. Because you were mentioning Queen, like on the backgrounds, for instance, the way they got those backgrounds super tight was, well, first of all, the performances were amazing, but then they would do things like they would take one vocal and gate the other vocals to it. So if it was like, is this the real life? You know, like Galileo, Galileo, Figaro. It would go Figaro, and when Freddie would stop singing, all of the other backgrounds would stop at the same time. I mean, it was a gate controlled from one vocal. So that's quite typical stuff, and it's really good for like, you know, starting vocals as well. If one vocal is like starts on a specific downbeat, when it sings, it opens up the gate for the rest. That might, in this mix, that might be a nice way to go for some of those elements, because I think it will create some more space if it's like ja-na-na-na-na, ja-na-na-na-na, jam, jam, jam. Try a little bit more of that. Otherwise, really super creative. I love what you're doing on the vocal. Like I said, after a while, took me a little bit to get used to, because I'm used to hearing it a different way. But this song could be, you know, a mid-90s kind of sing-along anthem. It had that sort of feel, you know, and we did really try to make this song a hit. We just didn't have any kind of backing with the band to really kind of put it out, which is a real shame. They just didn't have the financial ability to push it in any way, shape or form. So it never went to radio, which is a shame. But I think your creative stuff is really, really good. The only other obvious thing is the low end on the kick. I'm just not feeling it here.
The young and restless, together no one can stand against
You know, when it comes back in.
us. We are the young and restless. We are one. We are the young and restless.
The kick itself, not even so much the low end, definitely the low end, but the kick is sort of coming and going. Hasn't quite got the presence. I would not be afraid to like use the sample more aggressively there, so it's got a definitive, you know, drum beat, and then get that subbiness on the kick, just a little bit of that subbiness, just to kind of give it some like, yeah, you know, danceability. So for me, it's maybe getting a bit more aggressive with like chopping things up or gating them, so like na sha-na-na-na-na, a little bit more machine-like, because I do like that you use that keyboard, and that gave me some interesting head nodding here in that first chorus.
Gotta keep on.
We are the young and restless. Together no one can stand against us. We are the young and restless. We are one.
I think for me, the guitars are a little that like high middly. I want them that you don't really hear them. You do hear them. Don't get me wrong. You do hear them, but you don't hear them as much as you feel them. They're a little. I kind of want them to be like you know, and chopped up and out of the way of some of the other elements. Otherwise, look. I don't want to get too critical on this. It's super, super creative. And thanks for resurrecting this song, because this is a pretty massive song. Those of you watching, if you haven't mixed this one yet, mix it. Because it's a challenge, definitely a challenge, but it's also a really, really good song. And if you can get this really, really great sounding, you will get work on this on your resume, because it's a great song. You know, that's something, when we're picking songs, we're trying to not only find songs to mix, that were very interesting, where they have orchestral elements, like Jay's one last month had orchestra in it, as well as being recorded live in a room. This one's the opposite. This is me and the singer recording, like me playing parts and stuff like this. Totally different kind of production. So great. So we have different kinds of production for you to mix. That's very important for your talents and for growing, technically getting better. But the most important reason why I choose these songs, or at least as important as that, is I choose them because they have to be good songs, and they have to be by credible artists, because I want you to be able to put them in your resume and get work. So if you haven't yet mixed the Gallery Young and Restless, I suggest everybody does it. I think you'll get great, great result. All right, and it will really help your career and your resume. All right, next up is Sergio. Sergio says, hey guys, this is my remix edit. The song a little shorter, almost a radio edit remix. I recorded my hi-hat in the background and tweaked a bit of electric guitars. The drums are also modified a bit, and I tried to give the song a more dreamy atmosphere. Let me know what you think. Thanks, Sergio. Here we go.
Watching all the yesterdays glow, I can hear your voice like the loom of an organ's footwork pedaling. I cover my mouth with a curse and a cross to paralyze. Don't you trust me? I'm listening. Don't you trust me? Time changes time into a spineless curve. Turn on the dime, away from the world's prison. Lost in my mind is a shallow reserve, but you've got a lot of nerve. The feeling I get from closing my eyes is like throwing my hands in the air. But I can feel up my mouth the curses and lies. I don't think that my friends would care. I can feel my face going hot like a film strip melting. the lies that paralyze. Yeah, yeah. Are you wondering of falling eyes? Are you wondering?
Sorry about that if you were watching me stuff down my croissant there. Thank you, Fong Boy, for getting that. I hadn't eaten anything this morning and I've been up for a long time. So even though I have a lunch meeting in an hour and a half, that was very nice of her to get that for me. Incredible. Okay, so sorry you had to witness that. Sergio, absolutely fantastic. Now, there's lots of things I want to talk about to make this mix better. Here's the number one thing. The only thing that sonically bothered me was the snare. I don't like the snare sound. I don't know if it makes sense to me, that kind of knocking, clock, clock, clock. I don't think that's the snare for this song. That's just me. I don't think it's a snare for the song. It's just, it takes me out of the zone a little bit. Toms are fantastic. They got so much body, the low mids are cut beautifully, the low end, it's like, because this is my Vistalite kit. So it's my Ludwig Vistalite kit in my old studio, which is a big live room. As like I said, everybody played this song live together, so we overdubbed the vocals, but he sung live with them, playing acoustic. And it's just, yeah, it's absolutely superb. But the snare's the only thing that sonically bothers me. Have another listen. That's the only thing. Now, why am I saying this? Because I'm saying it because everything else is really level orientated. I actually don't mind that the bass is hot. I think it's just a hot by a dB. But I don't mind it being hot. It's interesting because sometimes things are too loud and just too loud. And other times things are too loud and stylistically cool because the tone is great. I think maybe applying a little bit more MV2, if you're not already using the Waves MV2, maybe a little bit more aggressive on that, on the bass, just so it sits more evenly, but at the same time, making sure overall it's slightly quieter, just ever so slightly quieter. Again, a little tiny bit more low-lows on the kick, just a little bit more subby action on that. Did we ever send the NS10 kick sample out? We talked about that a few weeks ago.
I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay, well, let's look up all our NS10 samples. We're gonna, in the next you know, Wednesday email or whatever, we'll make sure that we send out that NS10 sample that we sometimes use to do this. If you've got one already that you've got from a different mix, just that ooh, just put it up underneath. I also have a sample from Chris Allen that I made. Maybe we can recall the Chris Allen album. You guys remember Chris Allen? He won American Idol. I produced 2 songs on his first album after winning American Idol. And great guy. And I created this, what was called a goat skin kick. And what it was is it was a kick drum with goat skin on it, with like hair all over it, like this thick. And it just was ooh, ooh. I sometimes use that. So goat skin, Chris Allen, can you make a note of that? And NS10, different samples. I think if we make this available, you guys and girls can use it to just add, you know, put against your kick just for a little bit of low lows. So I'm asking Eric.
Yes.
And Eric's going to do it, aren't you, Eric?
Oh, I am.
He goes, oh, I am. Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to send those to everybody in the Academy. Okay, so that might help a lot of what we're getting a reoccurring theme of here. But you are going to need to get into rooms or headphones or use the Abbey Road Studio 3, something that gives you an accurate representation of what that real low end really works. This is the reason why I recommend the Abbey Road Studio 3. I know that there are guys and girls out there that are, you know, railing on against it because they don't understand, but there's a lot of professional friends of mine are using it because it is another way to check your mixes. It's a method you can trust, and especially if you have some of the headphones they've already got, or what you could do is you could put the Sonar Works on after it and use it that way. Anyway, so Sergio, the rest of it's about balance. I would MV2 the bass so it's more even, but bring it down overall. I get more low lows on the kicks, but the interesting thing is I like the guitars being a little distant and dreamy. It's a different kind of approach. My initial reaction is like, wow, those guitars are lower than I have them, but I actually like them being in there, you know. Goatskin, yeah, goatskin. It's on I used it, Toby, on the Chris Allen song. Let me see if I can find it. The Chris Allen song, this is worth talking about because then you guys can go and hear it. Guys and girls can go and hear it. Chris Allen. First album, here it is. Wow, 2009. The song was called This, All Right With Me.
And you ignore my advances. I turn my head and I look away, but I can't control, my eyes are on you, yeah.
So great guy, Chris Allen with a K, K-R-I-S, Allen, A-L-L-E-N. The song was called It's All Right With Me. It was actually sort of a hit. It came out as a single after it was put on a commercial for Ford. So it was actually the commercial he was in. He was driving the car and the song comes on the radio and it's the song. So we did pretty well with it. You know, so there's that. And then the other song was Red Guitar, which was a song he wrote on his own. And that's where I got and I did that at Studio 3 at Sunset Soundtrack, both those songs there. That's also the song we talk about, the yay, yay. That's the song that the backgrounds were done, sung into a laptop. All of those backgrounds, those yay, yay, yays, are sung directly into a laptop at an airport lounge. And we tried to track them and we couldn't beat them, so we used that. Pretty amazing, isn't it? So, just so you know, you can use whatever you want. So that's the song. It's called All Right With Me, Chris Allen. Go check it out. So, yeah, a bit more low-lows on the kick, bass down ever so slightly, guitars stay where they are. The only other major thing I could say is I need the vocal to be a little bit more dreamy, a little bit more, you know, some short delays, some long delays, maybe the delays going into reverb, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a dreamy sound, just to match that sort of guitar sound and everything we went for. Otherwise, really great work, and another illustration of how you can rebalance instruments, like the bass is like loud, but I don't know if it's too loud. It just could be down slightly because the tone is so good that I don't mind it being a feature. You know, how do the songs get selected? It's Eric. Eric goes through and tries to pick people that he hasn't seen before, or you know, sometimes if there's only like 10 or 12 week of the new song, then he's going to pick those. So sometimes it's people that are repeated, because lots of people here, you know, Magnus and Paul, for instance, you know, do every single song. Not everybody does a song. So sometimes you'll see their names come up more often. Otherwise, he will go out of his way to try and find people that haven't been featured before. Now, Tim, if you're one of those guys or girls that hasn't been featured and you feel like Eric's missed you, it's perfectly fine to email us and go, hey, I just want to let you know I've sent in a couple of mixes, but I've not been featured. And I'm sure Eric will put you in the next one. We've been very cognizant of that. Otherwise, you know, it's Eric just picking them to the best of his ability.
I do try to go first come, first serve.
Okay, he said first come, first serve.
So sometimes people get lost because they're on the second or third page, but I do try to, you know, I try my best to get whoever I miss out. So I'm sorry if I haven't done anything that I've been missing out.
So Tom, yes, if he has missed you, please feel free to email.
Yes.
Are you using Eric at Produce Like a Pro or not?
I'm starting to check it now.
Starting to check it now?
Yeah, I'm starting to. I'll be outside taking a drive.
Okay, Eric at Produce Like a Pro. Are you gonna? Who's doing? Are you running the sound now? I'm running it. Fongboy's running the sound. Okay, so Mark Moore is up next. Sorry, I'm eating my croissant live, but I haven't eaten anything. And I've been up for a long time, so I apologise. Okay, Mark says, howdy, Plapperati. That's pretty good. I like that, Plapperati. The vocal performance and the writing of the song are very cool. Decided to go a little Willie Mitchell here. Wonderful. Took some things out and added some stuff. Recorded in Sonar, Pro Tools and Studio One. Mixed in Sonar. Lots of automation. Hipster indifference and low-end shaming welcomed. Danka Macho. Hipster indifference. Yeah, bro. I mean, you know, I could see the transcendental, you know, hypothetical resolution of what you were doing there, bruh. That's my hipster say lots of things, but say absolutely nothing. Yeah, you know, I really dig it's very transcendentally, epileptically, kind of monumentally, I don't know. All right, I'm just talking schnizzle, as usual. Mark Moore, here we go.
But I lost something along the way. Every day I shed a tear. I have too many scars. Closing doors, forgetting dreams that I once had in my heart. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Nobody can understand. They can see my darkness. Sometimes I wish I could go back without even make a difference. It's only are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Closing my eyes whenever I can. I'm dreaming to see you once again. Closing my eyes whenever I can. I'm dreaming to see you once again. Cold days are harder when you don't have someone to hold. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Somebody to hold you close.
Wow. Mark, that is so beautiful. So beautiful. Tell us, where are the girls from? I didn't remember reading that. What did I gloss over there? Is that samples? Is that somebody? Who is that? What is it? Tell us. What? That was so good. I love the drum sound. I love how natural it is. It's definitely pervasive and there the whole time. I think the only thing I would change, I almost feel, here's what's interesting, I almost feel my electric guitar part is clumsy now. I feel like I would take your elements and replay my electric guitar to fit what you've done. I love the slap back echo on the vocal, fantastic. The only other thing I would, the only other thing I think is probably to retrack the Hammond. I feel like it's not quite gospel enough, considering how gospel you've made the vocals and everything. It sounds like a little bit more inversion-wise. It could be a little bit more expansive and could have woo, you know. But wow, I need to know the backgrounds. Tell us, is Mark here? Mark, are you here? Oh, he says, sitting in an airport, spotty Wi-Fi. I hear you. Mark, we just wanted to know how you did the backgrounds. They're amazing. Really, really amazing. Once more, round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Mark Moore. Really, really good. Wow. I would not be upset if you replayed those guitars. But the only other thing I would do is suggest that you retry the Hammond, maybe spend a bit more time on that, getting that super gospel-y, inversion-wise, etc. But everything else was superb and just really, really creative. Is this one of it, Mark? Would you let us have these multi-tracks that you've done? Oh wow, former singer for Luther Vandross. Okay, well that would explain it. I almost thought, like, is this a sample because it was so good? Ah, nice. All right, Mark, we want to hear more. You're opening yourself up to a whole world of people asking you questions. Really, really good. So yes, don't be afraid to rework my guitar. I feel like it sounds too, because my production was like so simple that the guitar played the whole time and filled it out. I like the idea now of maybe it coming and going. and being a little bit more in keeping with what you've done. The main thing for me would be to, apart from the guitar, would be to retrack the Hammond. It's not that I dislike it, I just think it could be even better still. If you got something that was really super gospel performance-wise, I think it would take it over the thing. But absolutely superb. Next thing is, would you let the Academy members play with your multi-tracks, with the stuff you've added here? I think that would be amazing for people to be able to mix this as well. That would be absolutely incredible. If you can do that, I would love it. You could send the multi-tracks to Eric, and he could do an official email telling everybody that. Paul says I have to follow that. Well, don't worry about it, Paul. Not only do you have to follow it, I have to follow it too, because it's me singing. So it's you and me both. Me singing and your mix. So don't worry, it's a double whammy. We both have to follow it. Yeah. Yeah, that was absolutely superb, as Paul Smith is saying. Superb mix and production. Great work, Mark. Mark says absolutely fantastic. Please send the multi-tracks. And if you wanted to, I'm encouraging this, but I'm not making this a prerequisite. If you wanted to do like a 20-minute sort of video on it of what you did, that would be amazing. That to me is like the next level of stuff we could do in the Academy. But I'm not saying you have to, but if you wanted to, that would be incredible. For instance, Scott Chandler and I were on a Skype coaching call this morning, and he did a song in that studio that you saw some video content of. Hopefully some of you saw that, or all of you saw that. And his acoustic guitar sound was phenomenal. And he's using an LCT 340, which is the one mic we use as well. Sometimes we use the 140. And I asked him to do a video on how he did it. He did basically my technique, but because it's a cutaway, he did it on the top, not the bottom. So he promised me he would do a video on it. And that will also go up in the Academy so we can hear. This is like the next level where we're sharing this kind of stuff. It's really fantastic. All right, Paul. You and I have got to follow Mark Moore's absolute genius. So Paul says, sorry, Warren, I know you're not a fan of listening to your own music. Did it some time back and thought I might as well use the time spent for some constructive feedback. Here goes. Warren and Paul extravaganza following Mr. Mark Moore.
I know you said you're sorry, but I swear I've heard that word 1,000 times. It always makes me angry, knowing that I'm trapped inside this lie.
Yay! Paul and Warren strike again. Thanks, Paul. It's really cool. I like your little addition of a solo in that bridge section. That was really nice. I feel like my solo that I did is not that good, and I did that solo live on a video that we did, and I kept it. I have to be honest. I love what you did to my vocals. I didn't expect my vocals to sound that good. I mean, obviously, you know, who brought this up? Was it Stephanie? I don't know if Stephanie's here. I think it was Stephanie, if I'm not correct. I believe it was Stephanie in the Academy this week said that, I can't remember if, I believe it was, but it could have been somebody else. Oh, and there was definitely, it's been a couple of people who brought this up, actually, probably about 3 or 4 people, about mixing and producing yourself. And, you know, I said, hey, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, I hate mixing myself. I hate recording myself. It's like, I probably sung that twice and then did a quick comp and that was it. I'm just like, I don't have, when it's me, I don't have the ability to be as objective as I need to be. So Paul, I can tell you that is a victory because I listened to it and I was like, oh, I like this vocal tone. What has he done? It gets a little nasally sometimes. That's part of my what I am. I'm a little nasally. I've got there's a little bit of that coming. You know, that happens all the time. But otherwise, I really do think that it's great. I mean, I was impressed with it. For me, what can I say? I feel like the drums are super demo-y sounding, like 2 mics of the drums in a room. And there's a part of me that's like, do I like that or not? I'm not sure whether I can be critical of it, because if you listen to it, it sort of feels very garage rock. Have a listen again. I am absolutely impressed by how you made my vocals sound. Thank you very much. Okay, yeah, the snare itself is sort of sounds like there's no close mic on the snare. It feels like 2 mics in a room, and that could be good. But one of the problems with that is sort of getting a unified sound. So for me, the vocals really super slick, really, really well mixed, great work. But the rest of the drums feel more garagey. Could be cool, but I don't know. I think I want more kind of like dry, natural snare on that. You could put room on it, but I want a bit more of a defined body on the snare. I know Anita said that like immediately. You know, and I think a lot of people are hearing the same thing. I think I agree. I think that the snare should be a little bit more body, a little bit more dry up front, but you can have room to it. But as long as it feels like there is a dry snare, at the moment it feels like I'm only hearing overhead mics or only hearing a room mic. Now that might not be the case, but that's sort of how it comes across. That's my main thing there. I love the vocal. It's really, really cool. I'm just going to have a quick listen to one other section. I mean, the bass tone is badass, as they would say in America. It's badass. We would just say badass. You know, no, it's really, really great tone. The kick is, most of the time, is right, kind of the lows, low lows. I think once you get that snare sound a little bit more up front, a little less kind of, you know, distant sounding, I think you're going to find you're going to have to do a lot of automation on the kick and snare to get it to sit perfectly here and there. I mean, the bass is super up front there at kind of the, you know, kind of taking away for some of the guitars. Now, if you remember this, those of you that remember watching the mix breakdown, a lot of those guitars is actually bass going, you know. Because the guitar part itself is this. Is this. So it's basically the chord is an open E, a major third, an E, a major third, then B and E. So it's very, very incredibly melodic because it uses the major thirds on both inversions. And then it's a major third to a fourth there, and obviously the E is the 5 in the A chord. So there's a lot of emphasis on that feel there. Really good. I mean, I still think this song should be on my quote-unquote solo album. You know, one day when I release that it will be on it. I'm slowly getting enough songs to have a solo album. Really wonderful work. Great, Paul. Thank you ever so much. A great marriage of your work there. And honestly, I couldn't expect my vocals to sound much better. You did a wonderful work on the vocals. So automation, get that snare to be a little, you know, get a drier snare in there, which of course you can then put room on, but a little less sounding like a overheads or a mono room mic. I think that would suit the song more. You're going to have to get in there and automate the kick and the snare a little bit throughout the song. And also I think you need to go louder and wider in the choruses with the guitars, just so there's a massive natural lift going on there. All right, next up is Mervyn Walker. And Mervyn says, hey all, lots to do with this one. Didn't use any of the premix tracks, so left out the distorted guitars. I felt the track had better groove without them. Went for a huge low end, used different compression, attack and release times to push them around in the mix. The same reverb panning and automation. Same with the reverb and panning automation. Mixed in Studio One. Comments welcome. Thanks, Mervyn. Great. Look forward to hearing it.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Love it, Mervyn. Love it. Okay, I think everybody's sort of saying the same thing, and I think on the whole, we love it. The treatment is fantastic. It's just getting that djembe to sit right. It's just either, it's basically too loud most of the time. Let's have a listen. And I think what it is, it's a combination of things. I would bring the part of the low end of the djembe down ever so slightly, just in the balance to the top, and then bring the whole djembe down. So if you brought down the low a dB.5, then took the whole bus of the djembe together and brought that down a dB, I think that would be in the perfect position. Now, it doesn't mean that when you get to the end, you might not have to push it up half a dB from that. Now basically 2 dB down, because you know you've got a dB.5 down on the low end, then half a dB of everything down. So you've come down 2 dB across the board. You might have to push it back up a half or so for the end when the bass comes in. But I think 2 dB down generally is going to be a good place to start. Otherwise, frankly, it's really, really good. I mean, there's a part of me that wonders, we've got the new Leapwing audio, Dyne 3. It's not released yet, so don't tell anybody I'm doing this, except for other Academy members. They came over last night. So version 3, just so you know, and they haven't released it, you can now change the crossover frequencies. We were the first people to see it as of last night. So what I could do is I could go to like 80, for instance. Here, we can take this parallel mode off. I like being able to do exclusive things for the Academy. It's great. Have a listen. Take the bands linked off, so I can now just get one band. So I've actually reduced that quite a lot more. Come down about 10 dB on the low lows. Let's take it out of solo. Now that's quite dramatic. However, that's because I'm not in parallel mode. Now if I put it in parallel mode, it's going to let the original breathe, and then the new one, the parallel compression, have a listen. So you can see how amazing it's keeping the integrity of his mix, but because it's parallel, it's the original source is going through and then it's adding this. I'm not doing a Leapwing ad, I'm just like, this is a freaking awesome thing that they've done here. And I can go to settings here and put this onto Master Q. It uses a ton of CPU, but now it has zero chance of there being any phase shift issues. Let's have a listen. It's already overloading our CPU. Okay. So we have to go back to Ultra. Great. Anyway, it's a good illustration. of what I'm talking about. Yeah, this new Leap Wing that's going to come out. We're going to the release thing tonight. I don't know if I'm going to film. We'll probably just go there and hang out and talk to people. I'll take some photos. It's been a difficult week for those of you who've been following, in as much as, you know, with Craig dying on Monday, it being a big deal. I haven't posted. Last night we were talking about possibly putting it into Feedback Friday and talking about him, but I thought that was going to be super cheesy. You know, I'll be really blunt. When I saw Mix with the Masters taking that poor French producer that committed suicide and like going, hey, so we're going to give you free, what do you call it? Like, you can free look inside of our business model here by introducing you to this amazing video we made with the guy that just killed himself. All you have to do is give us your email address. I was like, oh my goodness, I'll be honest. And I like Michael Brower, but that was just so freaking distasteful. I'm just like, hey, this is a great sales opportunity to celebrate the fact that this poor French guy killed himself. And I was so sad and frankly a little annoyed by it, to say the least. That it made me second guess everything because, you know, when my father died, I only talked about it in the Academy. I never made a post. I felt like it's got to be a safe place to talk about it and not an advertising campaign. We all advertise our stuff and what we do, but I thought it got to be. So this morning, we didn't put it in. Craig was a family friend. My wife and he were really close. She called me up on Tuesday morning crying her eyes out. Like, it was really, really hardcore. So upset, you know, because he wasn't that old. He was maybe early 60s. He did smoke very heavily. He smoked very heavily. And I don't know, nobody's told me why, but I spoke to Sunset Sound. I'm assuming it was a stroke or a heart attack, probably brought by the excessive smoking and the fact that he liked his burgers and French fries and Cokes and stuff like that. So Kash is okay, yeah. But yeah, was I being blunt? I think so. Is that okay? Should I have not been blunt? Do I have to? I don't know. Okay. Well, I can move on. I don't want to upset anybody. I mean, like, you know, I'm sure everybody loves Mix with the Masters. I just thought it was super distasteful to take somebody's suicide and use it as a business opportunity to bring more people in. I really felt like. The only time I've ever done a video personally about somebody was Chris Cornell, because he had issues with depression and drug addiction, and I felt like it was really, really important to talk about that and talk about those kind of things because, you know, anxiety and depression is something that so many of us go through, you know, and it's really, really important to us to understand that all creatives I've ever met go through it. It's like a universal thing. Everybody I know that's creative goes in and out of these ups and downs, these peaks and troughs. If it was so simple to be John Lennon or Roger Waters or David Bowie, if it was such an easy thing, then everybody would be doing it. If it was the area where the most sane, well-educated people went and did, then that's all it would be. It would just be like, oh, I'm going to write a song, you know, and it's going to be a #1 hit. It's not like that. Art, great art, comes out of pushing against things and boundaries. And so if you feel like anxious or you feel depressed and you're going through like ups and downs, just remember you're not alone. It's what we're talking about today in Feedback Friday. I hope that's what Matt made it about. You told him that, yes? Yeah. Okay. So please, after this finishes in a couple of minutes, please go to Feedback Friday and, Fact Friday, sorry, on YouTube, if you like, and leave us a message about that, because it's really important. Yeah, but Andrew, it wasn't my loss. It was all of our loss, you know. It was all of our loss. He was a really wonderful guy. And I was saying to Paula, you know, the manager of Capital, on Tuesday night, I said to her, we were talking about it. We were talking about the fact that this guy had been there since like 80. He had seen Van Halen records. He had seen 3 Prince records, his 3 biggest records. And goes with him the knowledge and the background of so much information that I am not going to take that for granted. We are going to interview people and talk to people and get that knowledge from them. really crazy. Anyway, I don't want to get upset because Craig was a wonderful guy and we all loved him. Next up is Kip. Thank you for listening to my little emotional rant there. I appreciate it. God bless you all. I always wanted to work on an alt country song like Sunval or Blue Rodeo, so I made Rachel write and sing over this track. Great. She blew up our tube preamp on the chorus, and we had a blast on this Sunday on it. Anyway, there's no forum page for this song yet, and I would like you guys to tell me what you think. Okay. Isn't there a forum page for this? Can we create one, please, Eric?
Yes, we can.
Eric will do it.
I shed my skin to take you in, shed my fear and inhibitions, share my dreams so carefully. How long until you love me? How long do I go on without the part of you whispering to me? Without the part of you. Have I fallen so far? I can't get back to where I was without you. But this ain't loving anyway. How long do I go on without the part of you whispering to me? Without the part of you. I can't make up your mind. How long can I try? How long do I go on without the part of you whispering to me? Without the part of you.
Fantastic. I want to go back and listen to a quick bit here.
How long do I go on without the part of you whispering to me? Without the part of you.
Cool. I really like this, Kip. Thank you for bringing this song back. It's interesting. This course was not one of our biggest sellers, and I was always surprised because, okay, they're not like super cool guys and they don't have a particularly, you know, they're not like super well known, but they are very successful in film and TV, and of course they're very country, and I really expected this to do a lot better than it did. It did okay, don't get me wrong. They've made a little bit of money, and that's why we do it. We do it to bring it to people, but also to pay mentors, so people can, you know, make extra income that are super talented. This wasn't one of our best ones, but this is one of our best songs, and it's all of the pedal steel stuff is absolutely phenomenal in this. Maybe Eric, you can put a link to this one up. That would be really, really good. Okay. It's the I'm Not Your Dad course. I really like this one. Anyway, I love this mix. All the tones are really good. But I think, Kip, you need to get in there with some automation. Sometimes the acoustics are too loud, and then other times I'm not hearing them. You know, the illustration of too loud is pretty obvious when you're coming into some of the choruses. There's actually one that's worse. It's mixed in with that do-do-do-do-do-do. You know, it's the electric guitar and the acoustic together there need to be just brought down ever so slightly. But then at the end here, I don't hear it until the end of the phrase. So I think in general, I think I would just challenge you to go back, now that you've got a good balanced mix, Kip, just go back and do a lot of automation. Get really stuck in there and do a ton of automation. I think you'd really take it over the edge. I mean, it's a great mix. Your wife did fantastic vocals. I would say there's moments where it feels like it needs a little bit more compression, because she's like, how long? She's up there and it's loud, and then a phrase follows afterwards and it dips down a bit too much. If you don't want to compress it more, then again, that's automation, automation, automation. You know, get in there and like push up the words that are getting lost and bring down the ones that are a little bit too hot. Great work. Yes, automation is a differentiator between a good mix and a great mix. Wonderful work, Kip, and thank you for bringing that song to our attention. Eric is, I haven't seen it yet.
Got to get it up into the actual like chorus section and all that stuff. So there's some stuff I got to do with it.
I don't understand what you mean.
I'll explain later.
Okay, I'm just going to find it for him. So hold on a second while I find it.
Oh, you want me to post it?
I wanted you to post a link to the course.
In the chat. Oh.
In the chat. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what I said. Can you post the course?
Oh, okay, I get it.
I
know, I got it. You continue.
Are you sure?
Yep.
You sure, Eric? You sure you can do this?
I think so.
I mean, home studio recording bass, Nashville bass and music production, bass recording and music production. You're not my dad. Learn more. Doodle-doodle-doodle. Wow. You might beat me because it won't let me copy the URL. Ahaha.
All part of my plan. Oh, wait, well, let me do it. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Oh, we both did it like with the seconds apart from each other. Whoa. 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 Sheila says Eric needs some sleep.
Yes.
No, it's a ProMix Academy course, Peter. There is actually, if maybe this one. No, go back or I'll do this. Okay, Eric? So now go to Produce Like a Pro, and there's actually a page where we did the recording, do you remember, of the pedal steel. And we put that up inside of the Academy. Can you find that?
I know the whole course is up in the Academy, but it's not.
The whole course is in the Academy?
The whole course, yeah.
Oh, there you go, everybody. The whole course is in the Academy.
And that's the link I posted up, is the whole course, which I need to put into...
Oh, so we did post the whole course for free?
Yes.
No, stop the presses. It's free.
For Academy only.
In... Yep, it's totally free. It's free in the Academy. Excellent. There we go, some consternation. Whoa, stop the presses. All right. Tony L is next up with Steve Magora. Crazy. Magora. Okay, Tony L says, greetings everyone. I worked here a few weeks ago and somewhat challenged by reverb and echo on the tracks. Too much preoccupied trying to remove rather than harnessing this natural sound in the mix. So I scrapped the old and started new. Good job. It makes perfect sense. I understand where you're coming from. A few notes in the mix, program kick, snare, MIDI, using Easy Drummer, custom kit blended to taste. That should be interesting to hear. Add a little more grit to the guitar and delay. Overhead track, I added distortion EQ to bring out the hi-hat more. Here's my rendition. Hope you like it. Great. Last but no means least, Mr. Tony L with Steve Magora. Crazy. I'm trying to speak Italian. Sound Italian after being in Rome a couple of weeks ago. Here we go.
I've been baptized by
Mary and Joseph. Let's bring that down.
I've been baptized by fire. I've been going insane. I'm a guitar man with whiskey in hand and drugs in my brain. I've crossed borders and seas, played for princes and thieves, but nothing else matters if you ain't with me. I'm going crazy, crazy for a woman like you. Felt this way before, and that didn't turn out well. So now I'm starting anew. I've been lying here all day, all night, dreaming up ways to get back to you. What could I do? What could I say? Is there anything left to make you feel the same? I've been baptized by fire. I've been going insane. I'm a guitar man with whiskey in hand and drugs in my brain. I've crossed borders and seas, played for princes and thieves, but nothing else matters if you ain't with me. I'm going crazy, crazy for a woman like you. A woman like you. Someone said to me, man, you gotta be crazy for speaking your mind. But I can't control my brain, and you might not feel the same, but I don't mind wasting my time. 'Cause what if you knew, and what if I'd stayed? Is there anything left to make you feel the same? I've been baptized by fire. I've been going insane. I'm a guitar man with whiskey in hand and drugs in my brain. I've crossed borders and seas, played for princes and thieves, but nothing else matters if you ain't with me. No, I'm going crazy, crazy for a woman like you. A woman like you.
Wow, it's interesting. So Tony, you know, when everybody was asking about the song, that's me, not Eric doing all the background stuff here. So I went and found it on YouTube and you know, got everybody's names and posted that and posted a link to the song and everything. And it's a tough one because, you know, that was Sunset Sound. That was Craig. You know what I mean? He was such a big part of making all this stuff happen. So we did the whole thing with Loughton microphones, and Daryl just did an amazing job. So feel free to watch it. You can download the multi-tracks. And that should be a blog post up inside of the Academy. So maybe Eric, can you create like a post? Is there a way you can just put it up in the Academy with a link to the files directly?
Yeah.
So people that aren't, you know, because this is obviously for people on YouTube that are coming in to check out what we do and everything. But you know, this is a big one. So make sure the video is linked to it and everything.
Okay.
So link the video, link the multi-tracks. It was a big deal. Anyway, so Tony, you did an amazing job. It definitely gets very smushed together at the end. It gets very, there's a lot of high-mid stuff going on. It gets very complicated. I would say personally, the kick sample, I think, could come down a little bit. It just sounds a little tiny bit too aggressive for the stand-up bass, if you ever listen here.
For a woman like you.
That dick is just a little bit too much for me. I think it needs to be a bit more boom, boom, you know, like a low-end natural tone. I know when Blair played it, I mean, it's a little tiny drum kit. If you look at the link again, I'll, while I'm talking, hopefully you guys and girls can see this, but, oh, sorry, I'm posting the wrong link. I'm posting another thing I just copied and pasted. So, sorry, my fault. Give me 1 second. But yeah, so here you can see the drum kit that he used. You know, it's a very small kit, and I get it. And look, I understand. I think Tony is right. That's a good idea to do it, is to put a little bit of that. A little bit of point on it is not a bad thing. Trying to get a little bit of footage of Blair. Oh, it's amazing. I'm clicking through the video and I can't find a single thing of just drums. Poor old Blair. He's not that featured. Anyway, it's a little kit. I believe the kick drum, I want to say 18. It may have been a 20. It looks like a 20. It's small. It's like below his knee. So what's that? That's like that. And Blair's shorter than me. So yeah, it's probably like an 18. It might be a 20, but it's definitely, I think it's an 18. So it's a little kick drum, and it's a wonderful performance. He did an amazing job. But yeah, I think ultimately I would suggest, you know, I like this idea of adding a little bit of the sample, Tony, but I think you just need to get it just a little bit more balanced in with the live kick. I do agree. A couple people said like the vocals super hot at the beginning. I'd bring it down, let it grow into the song, and then at the end here.
So tell me I just might take a flight tonight if I could just see your face. Oh,
everything is smushed. I mean, it just it's great. It's energy, and I get it, and it's a big part of it. But it does feel like all the piano, the overheads, the guitars and everything are all sort of like blending really heavily into each other. And I think I'd like a little bit more definition going on in that. So, yeah, I would say if we could do a little bit more detailed stuff on that, and you could get in there and maybe just pull things back so they're not compressing so heavily in either in individual buses or in the main bus. A little bit more space in there. Try and work with bringing the cymbals down a little bit. They're getting a little bit too big there. A little shh. I think that would be absolutely amazing. Wonderful work, though, and a great way to finish up. What what a really strange week, with Craig dying on Monday, and here we are on Friday. Sorry to bring it up again, but then we finished with this last song. I'm sure Eric wasn't deliberately doing it, but here we are. We finished with a song that Craig had so much to do with, at Sunset Sound, and but it's a beautiful tribute. Thank you, Tony, for mixing the song. Thanks to everybody. If you haven't downloaded Mix's track, please do it. It's really wonderful. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you for everybody's incredible work. Thank you for all your support. Remember, we all lost Craig, not just me. Put a bottom sound on it. Let's see where it works. I'm going to mix the song because Craig was a part of it with him in mind. Wonderful. And just be cognizant of, that's Daryl Thorpe. That's one of the greatest engineers in the world. And he, the fact that we have access to this and mix, somebody as talented as that work. All right, have a marvelous time. Go on happy things. Tonight we're going to go to the Leapwing audio release of the Dyne 3. You saw it in action. You saw how amazing it's going to be. It's coming out in, I think he said November, didn't he?
Sometime around November, yeah.
I think it's right at the beginning of November. So we'll have links to it. We'll put the video up. You'll be able to buy it. I think it's very buyable. Between that and the Gullfoss, I think I'm favouring it over the Gullfoss. This morning, Scott and I don't know if he's still here, but Scott Chandler and I worked on a song together, a song he had produced and mixed and engineered and everything, and played on and everything. And we took the Gullfoss off the master bus, and it just made things... I love the Gullfoss plugin, don't get me wrong, but it just made things just have a little bit more definition when it was off. It was squishing it a little too hard when it was together. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the Gullfoss, but I think you have to use it judiciously. Where I believe the amount of effort these guys have put into the Dyne 1 and the third version, and the fact that there's no phase shift and you can blend it back in is truly remarkable. So really great. Don't forget to watch that video and download those tracks. And please, 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 please go to the latest video. And let's have a discussion about depression and anxiety and all the other things that people go through. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. I'll speak to you all again very, very soon.